now tuned in to the cold, hard truth. Cayman's #1 hard-hitting live podcast show, where we feature some straightforward conversations on political, social, and celebrity news and all things happening in the Cayman Islands and around the world. This show was created to give the people a voice and a means of being involved and informed without any filters. Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. We bring you the tea, piping hot, so grab your favorite beverage and join the conversation via WhatsApp at 324-1612. Email tips@caymanmarlroad.com. Now, here's your host, Sandy Hill, broadcasting live from the beautiful Cayman Islands.
Spilling the tea with Sandy.
Cayman's top news headlines of the day from CMR.
No, I told her that they were late.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You didn't lie.
So she's like, I was like, don't mail me cookies anymore.
Yeah, you're like, that was a nice thought. No more.
That's right. Morning, Sandy.
Hey, good morning, guys.
How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good. We're ready for you to spill the tea.
What's going on?
What you got?
Piping hot tea this morning.
Piping hot.
Oh, really?
Ooh,
Yes.
piping hot.
No, extra hot. So one thing that we've got for you that's kind of an exclusive is that, in the past week, less than a week actually, several prison officers have resigned. And our sources have shared that their resignation is more than meets the eye.
Well, is it pressure because of other officers being arrested or under suspicion for the narcotic program that they had going on?
Yes, well, that's what is being alleged. The prison has denied it. They've said, well, what they have denied is that, basically no one has been arrested, because we said, has anyone been arrested in relation to having drugs in their privates? Because that was the latest rumor. And they're like, no one has been arrested. And all right. So this is how you have to know how to ask the question, because it's purposely evading the story. So they're gonna answer your question. So it seems like what might now be happening is, out of embarrassment, they're not following the protocol of okay, if we find drugs on you, we're going to call the police. We're going to do all these steps. They're going to just tell you to resign.
So they're,
And so you never got fired, and it's just a resignation. And then they don't have on their record that yet another officer has been arrested for drug importation. Now, if drug smuggling, I should say, if that's happening, because that's the allegation, that's quite a serious allegation.
I would
So
say
we're gonna talk about it this morning.
I would say so. That would make you complicit. I would say. Wouldn't you say? Wouldn't you say that would make you complicit?
It definitely would.
And a cover.
Yeah, and I mean, when you see people hauled into court for all sorts of things, as we saw last week with the DPP's office for a file that's gone missing, and you don't really know how it's went missing, and so you're trying to blame somebody else for that, and that becomes a criminal offense. How does sneaking drugs into the prison not become a criminal offense? So we're going to talk about the prison a little bit this morning. We do have, you guys remember that murder in manslaughter case at Bananas, where the guys basically beat the guy and he died?
Yes.
He was from Sri Lanka. So they have been sentenced, 2 of them to 7.5 years each, which is like amazing that's all they got, really.
Yeah,
for killing someone.
I was like, that
that
seems like a pretty light sentence, because you would get out for possibly good behavior, maybe, so not serve the whole.
Yeah, they're going to serve like 60% of that.
What? So, I mean, from what I understand is this guy's has had a wife and a 2-year-old, and she can't afford to now pay for her cancer treatments anymore because he was working here to send money back. And
wow,
absolutely horrible. So they got a slap on the wrist.
Terrible.
Again, it doesn't always make sense. Trust me. And very, very unfortunate situation there. So we've got Caribbean Connection Wednesday today. So we have MP Mr. Famous, who's going to be joining us from Bermuda. Every once in a while he pops in. We have some other partners around the Caribbean that sometimes join us, but right now we've got one lady. She's from the Miami Herald, Jackie Carpenter. She's actually in Haiti still, as far as I know. She's been covering the whole situation in Haiti with like the pandemic, and of course with the assassination of their president. She actually went there after that happened. So, communications there is a little bit sketchy, so it's not always easy to reach her. But that's kind of what we've got going on today.
That's a busy show for you.
Yeah.
So, Butterfield Bank. Oh, here's another big one that dropped last night.
I saw something about that.
Yeah, they've agreed to forfeit almost $5 million, so $4.8 million, after basically admitting to criminal conduct in the U.S. because of their Bermuda and Cayman operations.
What kind of criminal conduct?
Well, they have admitted to wire fraud, and it said that constituted proceeds of mail and wire fraud, and basically it was part of a tax evasion investigation. So what they said, this is the U.S. Department of Justice, what they basically said is between 2001 and 2013, the Bank of Butterfield employees, both in Bermuda and the Cayman Islands, were turning a blind eye or purposely helping people evade taxes. And that caused those U.S. taxpayers to submit fraudulent tax returns. And as a result of that, because the banks didn't disclose the information of the account holders, they committed a criminal act. And so they've admitted to it to avoid what they call, it's part of a hold on, let me tell you the correct term, non-prosecution agreement. So they would have been prosecuted otherwise criminally.
So they've been fined. They've been ordered
so they
to pay
took the fine and
agreed
agreed to hand over client records.
Oh.
Like you got
So if you're an American banking with Butterfield, you might be in trouble if you've been lying on your tax returns. I know. So those were kind of the big stories. We'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later on in the show as well.
That is a lot. That's a lot going on. Yeah. All right. Well, join Sandy right now on CMR if you want to catch that show. And we got Aaron's Dirty on the 30 coming up next. Sandy, we'll see you tomorrow.
Awesome, guys. Have a wonderful hump day.
Yeah, you too. What you got coming up?
All right, guys. Wonderful. Give me one quick second here. We're going to get our show on the road. The bus is all cranked up. The engine has begun. I do want to catch up on a little bit of news. I like giving you guys these little bit of, sort of COVID news snippets so that you know what's going on in that world. It's always something, trust me. So, oh Lord, our Caribbean partners are sending me some news bits. Something that we kind of missed on the radar. I saw the story, but then I didn't really pick up on it. Was this whole thing with a oil tanker supposedly being hijacked? Ugh. Remember when hijacking? I think it still happens, but it doesn't make the news quite as much. It's just crazy what's going on there. But give me 1 second. Just looking at some of the top news stories for the day to see what we've got going on here that we definitely want to pull up. I was watching a lot of interesting. I was actually up quite late last night, watching quite a bit of interesting stuff in relation to just what's happening around the world. Sometimes it's so crazy. So give me 1 second here. So I think we can do some, I always try to pick something within the last 24 hours because, news, it's like constantly being updated. So let me just have a look here. We mentioned yesterday that we're going to be paying very close attention to what happens here on Thursday with the amber list for people who potentially returning back to the UK. So we're still going to be paying close attention to that. But here's an interesting story headline this morning talking about, that the risk of children now with COVID, actually getting COVID, has increased substantially. I mean, it's crazy because remember initially we were saying that children were at low risk of actually getting COVID. It looks like that might have been what it looked like initially, but probably because they can't be vaccinated, children have really, there's been something like a 70-80% increase in the number of children who are actually getting COVID. And so this story now is going to talk about whether or not any of them are experiencing long haul COVID. So remember, obviously your biggest concern with COVID is getting it and dying from it and being seriously ill and being hospitalized. But there is also the potential for you to, after having recovered, for you to get what's called long haul COVID. Or long COVID, and that comes with some really, really serious implications. So let's have a look at this little video about how potentially that impacts children, because I think this is super interesting. Here we go.
Annabelle's health has not been the same since she caught COVID last October. There are physical issues like the daily headaches and debilitating fatigue, but Helen worries more about the impact COVID has had on her 10-year-old's brain and nervous system.
The most debilitating part of the illness is the extreme anxiety that she suffers. It's like a different child compared to this time last year.
I don't feel like I've got as better as I would have liked from the COVID incident.
Helen has been told a COVID-19 infection has triggered a post-viral response known as pediatric acute onset neuropsychiatric syndrome, or PANS. But there may be some good news for Annabelle. A new study shows children who become ill with coronavirus are unlikely to have long-term effects, with less than 2% having symptoms lasting more than 8 weeks. Researchers from King's College London studied more than 1,700 children. They found symptoms lasted an average of 5 to 7 days in children aged between 5 and 17, and fewer than 1 in 20 experienced symptoms for 4 weeks or more. This compares to around 1 in 7 adults who experience symptoms for 4 weeks or more.
So though overall the news is very positive, a small number of children and families will need some support. And it's about talking to your GP who could then refer on to a pediatrician, and then finding the right tailored and individualized support.
The study's authors say even children who suffer a long illness with COVID-19 usually recover with time. Helen will hope Annabelle does, because for now, every day is still a struggle. Ashish Joshi, Sky News.
As COVID cases rise, China is taking steps to contain the spread, including putting restrictions on subway traffic. Eunice Yoon joins us live from Beijing. And Eunice, we were looking through the numbers. Obviously, big jump there, but not relative to what we've seen here.
Yeah, that's right. There were 96 new cases in China today, and the overall number they say of affected people is 400. Low, but
Okay, sorry. I had to run and go do something real quick. So that's some new news coming out of China, who's claiming only 94 cases a day. Somehow I don't believe that. I don't believe much the Chinese have to say in relation to their figures, because we know certain countries are not entirely honest with the numbers, trying to make their position look that much better. But we'll see how that goes for them. Anyway, we'll look at the Chinese perhaps a little bit later on. So good morning to Miss Evelyn. Good morning to Morna. Good morning to, let me just see here. Good morning to Felicia. Good morning, Elsa. Thank you so much for joining us, Julie. Yes, we're going to talk about that prison situation because it is very interesting. Jasara is locked in. We got Carla. Happy hump day. Diamond Princess Sapphire. Good morning. Carmelie's here. Olivia, Beulah, Miss Alice, Louie. Now I've got to, give me 1 second here, folks. I have got to send out my little reminder to the folks on the web, because sometimes we've got people actually watching us live on the World Wide Web. So we try to give them the opportunity to watch the story right from that location as well. So I like to send out my little reminder to them. Yes, so folks, we'll be talking about that prison situation here in a second. Nathina's with us. Louis says in Detroit, it's 64 degrees, 79% humidity. Woohoo! Sounds like a relatively okay day. Congratulations, Louis. He actually missed yesterday when his photo was being picked, or the his photo was being picked for the mugshot winner. So as I suspected, he's passing along the love. So he's going to be donating his prize to an elderly family member in Cayman, which is super cool. So we will definitely get that to them, Louis. We will get that sorted out. If not today, tomorrow, because yesterday was quite a hectic day. Let me just see here. So congratulations again. Siobhan is here. Tommy joining us in the Bahamas. Miss Emma, how are you? Evelyn says, looking pretty this morning. Thank you. Dawn is here. Says, looks like a sunny day. And I'm wearing yellow, so it's super sunny. I've just put some on, Carmelie. Actually, I've just put on some lip gloss. It was just one of those days where I was like, ugh, stayed up too late, didn't feel like rolling out of bed, but I did, because we gotta just get the show on the road, folks. As much as we would love to sleep in around here, that is simply not an option. So you guys are going to be quite surprised at what we have working on for you. We've got another rogue contractor who has built someone's house, and literally when it rains, the water is pouring through the roof. So we're going to talk about him. You'd be surprised to know that the last government actually gave him money out of government coffers. I often wonder how do they do this? How do they approve someone who has this sort of a track record? Anyway, we'll be highlighting that individual this week. We also have a rogue landlord who refuses to fix things. So, at one point the tenant is like having to use the bathroom sink instead of the kitchen sink, or the kitchen sink instead of the bathroom sink, one or the other. I'm trying to remember. But she's going to come on the show and tell us all about what's going on. And the most interesting part of her story is she says you are going to be incredibly surprised at who the rogue landlord is. She said, you're not going to believe it. And I'm like, oh, are we not? So you guys need to tune in for that show. We're going to see if we can get her sorted out for tomorrow to bring her on. But yeah, apparently rogue landlords are all over the place, and they're everybody and nobody all at the same time. When I say nobody, it's like it doesn't matter who it is. And they are taking advantage of people in particular who are foreign nationals. Well, they take advantage of Canadians too. Let me be very clear. They don't seem to care. But foreign nationals are at particular risk of being taken advantage of, in my opinion. So we're going to have her on the show. So that's another story that we're working on. Darlene, thank you so much. Marshall is here. Leslie, says Delta's a hot mess, child, more contagious. Chanel, good morning. Corsita's here. Elizabeth, Masu, Darlene says, let's do an update on the Turtle Center protests. Well, Miss Darlene, I wish I had an update on the Turtle Center protests, but I don't know what's going on at the Turtle Center. So I've heard stories, but I can't get any confirmation that people are now placed on vacation. And when they place you on vacation, what that normally means, they're fixing your terms of departure, but nothing concrete on that one yet. So I don't have much of an update, and it's so tight-lipped. Now, let's talk about people trying to be tight-lipped and how CMR still manages to get the sauce. The prison. What a hot mess that place has become. That place has really struggled with trying to find leadership that turns it around in any meaningful way. And I'm thinking back years now. We had the last guy who basically, it looks like he was probably told another one of those, get out of here sort of situations. After it was disclosed that he hired the very nanny or something that he had working for him, this woman, promoted her above other officers who had been there for quite some time. And basically ensured that she got the job, even like the HR manager was told to hire her and do what you needed to do to make sure she got a contract. Now, the hiring process is supposed to be, they claim that it's supposed to be fair and non-partial and all this kind of stuff. But we've seen recruitment processes in the civil service be subjected to a lot of nepotism and favoritism. And so I'm not entirely surprised when that story came out many years ago that had happened. What was surprising is that the prison officers decided to sue the prison over the fact that this woman, who was less qualified and turns out had a personal relationship with the prison director, the former prison director. And when I say personal, like friends, I don't know anything beyond that, but they were definitely friends, and she had been a nanny for him at some point and stuff as well. So there was all that hot mess. Then she comes to the Cayman Islands. Remember, this is one who was alleged to have been having an inappropriate relationship with a prisoner. And oh gosh, this ding-a-ling-a-linging song on the thing on the. Let me turn off this phone, Shaw, because that's gonna drive me crazy this morning. So okay, sorry, trying to arrange a few things. So yes, and then she gets into this position. Now you would think, right? I mean, tell me if I'm wrong here, but if I get a job because of some friendship connection, and I didn't really earn the job, and it's good salary, I'm working in the Caribbean, getting housing allowance and all these sorts of benefits, you sort of think that you would come into the position and behave yourself, right? Wouldn't you? But that's not what happens. They come here and they do the most. So they do the most, and of course, part of the issue with that is she ended up having a relationship with a prisoner, some sort of a relationship. And the other prison staff, other prison management apparently, essentially said, hey, this is what's going on. And the prison director at the time, because that was his good friend, decided to do nothing about it. So they had to put a secret camera to catch her. And they caught something all right. Wow. Jail meat apparently is of interest to people. Corsita says they're just interested in the money. Well, interested in the money and something else apparently. Good morning, Alba. Buenos dias. Estoy bien y tú? Yeah, child, not just the money. It's the Caribbean loving. Even if it's jailbird loving, apparently. I don't know what would make you so desperate. I mean, gosh, there's so many Caribbean men that are available. I mean, why would you have to go and pick up a murderer in prison? Anyway, she's not the only one. But so now we have a situation. There's been a lot of bad press around the prison. And it's unfortunate because, the prison has an important role to play in our society, not just a penal role, but a rehabilitative role. So, right now there's no training program in prison. That's gone to the dogs. Because as far as I know, the woman who was in charge of the training is still on some sort of leave. Remember we broke the story. When did we break the story? Hold on one second. Let me go back a second here now. Y'all hold up, because we want to make sure we're getting the facts, nothing but the cold hard facts and the cold hard truth. So this one, Miss Aduki Caesar, October 23rd, 2019, we reported that she was suspended again. Oh, hold on one second. Let me grab this window. That she was suspended again for the second time. The first time she won her case and they were forced to take her back. And then we discovered in October 2019 that apparently they were suspending her again, part of an internal investigation. Now, you might be wondering to yourself, well, how long does an internal investigation actually take? Because now here we are in August of 2021, so almost some 2 years later. We're not going into 2 years again, because the last time she was off for 2 years, they took her back and they had to pay her one pile of money, back pay and this and that, and reputational damage and all sorts of stuff. This woman actually has a degree from Cambridge. So let me assure you that she might be a Caribbean woman, but she's not a fool. And she gets one of the most well decorated lawyers in this jurisdiction to represent her. So they be in some trouble when they be messing with that lady, because you know you get yourself some legal counsel who knows the law of employment. So guess what? This is also crazy. But they put her in leave back in 2019, October of 2019. She's still in leave. And she's the one who's supposed to be in charge of the rehabilitation. She's deputy director for rehabilitation. Now, let me ask you a very rudimentary question this morning. Are you aware of anyone even put in her position acting? Let me make it very, very simple for you. The answer is no. No one has been put in her position to act. So you mean to tell me then that there is no, follow the train of logic here, that there is no rehabilitative program at the prison? There's no one in charge of that? Because who else would be qualified? They've not brought anybody in. They have no one acting in the position. So what we have now is we have dangerous prisoners that are being let out into the general population of society. Yes. And those individuals haven't gone through any reintegration. They haven't had their little jobs before they come out of prison to try to get them on the straight and narrow and to show them how, yes, honey child, you can make it with a little job that isn't illegal. You can hold it down. You can do these things, here's some skills that you're coming out of prison with. So none of that has occurred. Well, I told y'all this woman has won a case against the government before. Now, I don't know what kind of money they paid her, but I'm sure it was a pretty penny. Back pay, reputational damage, and all sorts of stuff, because they had fired her previously and the courts ruled that they had to take her back and settle up all this money. Well, they put her in suspension again. What a hot mess. What we've heard through the grapevine is the prison director basically refuses to work with her. He says that he, well, I don't know exactly what his problem is per se, but it looks like maybe he's threatened by her in some way, shape, or another. So this time around, they were claiming insubordination. This is what the story says. There's some mix-up story about her misspeaking to someone else, like another person there at the prison. And so she had committed insubordination. The problem with it, though, from what I understand, is you cannot commit insubordination if the person isn't above you. Follow my logic now. Insubordination, yes? Okay. Requires you actually do something. Just the very definition of what insubordination means against someone who is your senior. So the person, whoever, whatever the mix-up situation is, right? So insubordination is basically refusing to obey orders, or you're being defiance of authority. But if the person is not in a position of authority, how can it be insubordination? So in other words, they're either your equal or they're below you. By definition, that cannot be insubordination. I tell you, all the situation's a hot mess a lot of times around here. So it seems to me that they probably just suspended her for the wrong thing. But this is when you're trying to achieve a certain end result, which is to get rid of her, but you don't go about it the right way. They've had her on leave all this time, suspended. And so, I'm sure they've been trying to work something out. I don't know what they've been trying to work out, but nothing has happened to the best of my understanding. And so now the matter is going to court again. Government sure seems to they can find money to fund that attorney general's office to be losing some lawsuits, even when they know they are wrong. Let me tell you how the government operates, right? Even when government knows that they are wrong, they will not step back trying to save face. I have seen it with my own personal judicial review case against them. I told you guys how I won a judicial review case many years ago. And they knew from a legal perspective and an evidential perspective that they had no case. And you know what they did? They just doubled down to their position. Instead of them coming and saying, okay, we're wrong, we're going to settle this, whatever. Oh no, honey child. They just continue to double down and waste government resources because the Attorney General apparently has nothing else to do. Him and his office just wasting resources. It's kind of like the case with what was the facility called there? Doctors Express, and the cannabis vapes and all that sort of thing. The writing was on the wall a long time with that case before the judgment came down, but no, honey child. They had one very interesting member of the I hope to God he don't get this case, because boy, I've never seen anybody quite like him before in court. Very animated, let's put it that way. Character, lawyer, representing the DPP, the AG's office, arguing a case that has no merits, even common sense merits. Like, you're sitting there listening to the arguments and you're like, scratching my head, like, this don't make no sense. What's he talking about? You don't have to be Cambridge educated to know that they had no case. You just needed to be somebody with a little bit of common sense. Good morning, Keisha. Hello, Miss Emma. Happy hump day. So they're going to probably lose another case again. This woman is sick of the foolishness. Judicial review application has been filed. And it's like, here we go again. And at some point you have to question, remember what we were talking about with the DPP's office yesterday, allegations of discrimination and racism and whatever. At some point you have to question, what's really going on with this woman? Right? If they're so desperate to get her out of a position, well, they'll have to do what they've done to other Caymanians, I suppose, other Caymanian women for the most part. Go and check the roll call on that one. 99% women, because apparently when men get into positions of power, they have an issue working with women who are supposed to be in positions of power. So they'd rather force you into and relegate you into early retirement. It happens time and time again in the civil service. So maybe they'll have to buy out the remainder of her contract. And I don't think she's anywhere really close to retirement age. It's increased to 65, right? I don't know how old she is, but she looks pretty young. So she's probably got a good 10, 15 years left. So they'll have to pay her a couple $1 million. But anyway, we'll see how it goes. Her last case that she won was against the Home Affairs Ministry. And she returned to work in February of 2017. before this incident then in October of 2019. We'll keep you updated. But what happens now, apparently, is at the prison, the whole point of me sharing that is they've had a lot of bad press, very high profile cases over the years. So I can understand their hesitancy for any additional bad press. And then the other day we had a guy arrested for drugs, importing drugs into the prison. Obviously, that's not a good situation. There was an allegation of another officer he wasn't arrested, but he was taken off and escorted off to do a drug test. Now, who escorts a prison officer to do a drug test if they don't have some serious suspicions about him? Well, last week, I told you guys last week, Thursday, his contract of employment was not renewed. Now, we heard they fired him. When we contact them, they say, oh, we didn't renew his contract. What's the difference? Oh, right. You're not going to call it a termination at the top of the thing. But since your contract was conveniently up for renewal, we're just not going to renew your contract. Apples and apples. I don't know. Sounds very much the same to me. They ended the relationship. Let's put it that way. Politically correct. Okay. So yesterday, we started hearing some rumblings about a female officer who was in some sort of a debacle with drugs, allegedly being placed in her parts. Did y'all hear what I just said? Sneaking drugs in the prison and your hoo-ha? So we contact the prison because, we try to make sure the story is straight. And we say, has a female officer been arrested, being investigated? No, nothing's going on. Well, nothing is going on except an email went out to staff yesterday afternoon to say she no longer works with us. She has resigned. Talk about convenient timing. So there's a story in existence about a lady, a female officer, and then that same afternoon she resigns. Not related to the story, I'm sure. Other bits and pieces of the story is that she was actually dating, hear this fiasco. She was actually dating a prisoner. Now, how do you hire someone who ends up dating a what's in the tea at the prison? I need to know. Inquiring minds want to know. These prisoners are so hot to trot that everybody wants to date them. From the psychiatrist at the prison, the psychologist at the prison, to prison officers. And I mean, what on earth? They're like a special commodity. Y'all need to try and find a way to outsource that. Put up a website, prison meat for sale. Get a prison boyfriend. Dial 949 jailbait or something. Put up a dating website for the prisoners because this seems to be a thing. Good morning, Miss Iva. Watching from her quarantine room. Miss Iva's back from TCI, where she was part of the delegation that went out with the women's senior team that won the TCI champs that we were talking about yesterday. Thank you so much. So lovely to hear how well our ladies did. But yes, this seems to be a situation, some kind of jailbait situation going on at the prison. They appear to be a very sought after commodity by some individuals. Prison staff. Now, I don't know what kind of training prison staff go through, but it should be very, very clear that you never have a relationship if you work at the prison with a prisoner. It just should never happen. How does that happen? Seriously. Anyway, it's been happening. And this apparently is just the latest case of it happening. And so the allegation, again, speculation, not confirmation, is that she was bringing drugs in, I guess, for her boyfriend in the prison. So the prison management has said they don't know anything about that. They don't know anything. There's no investigation. There's nothing going on. But she resigns the same day. Okay. So there's now this theory heading, floating around where people are saying, listen, it's just a little bit too convenient that in the last week, we have had several officers resign, right? And those officers had stories attached to them that made them look less like ideal prison officers. And so their resignations seem a bit too orchestrated. Yes. And in fact, the prison is trying to save face. This is the storyline. I'm going to tell y'all how it go. The prison is trying to save face and not look so bad, like, oh, had to fire another one. Oops, had to fire another one. Woman trying to bring in drugs in her woo-ha. Oops, prison officer hanging out with criminals, all this kind of stuff. It's like, oh, we can't really get this in the public domain. So let's just say that they resigned. So we'll send out a standard email to all prison staff. So-and-so has resigned today. Something's a bit fishy. Not quite adding up, folks. Gigi, good morning. Louis says it gives a whole new meaning to the word pen pal, dating a prisoner. Shan says we must have some charming prisoners. Apparently, my dear, they're real charming the panties off everybody. Jonathan says, I bet a website like that would actually make a lot of money. Wanda, yes, honey child. Something being covered up around here doesn't quite settle, correct? So it's kind of like the whole FOI thing, right? When you put in an FOI request, if you don't ask the question precisely, they find a way to not give you the documents that you've requested, or they don't keep the documents, none at all. And then they're like, how can you not have this information? So something can't be FOI-able if you don't have it. You can FOI it, but we don't have it. There's so many ways to circumvent good administrative procedures. And one such way is to have people resign. Y'all know people get fired every single day. And instead of them just firing you, they're like, oh, we'll give you the opportunity to resign first. You're still fired. And Cayman is so small that everybody knows you're still fired. But here's the problem with that. Because they do it in such a manner and allowing you to resign, you don't have a blemish on your record, eh? So what are you able to do? Continue on and go get a job somewhere else in civil service. Probably in management, security forces. We've seen this happen. Let me point out to you an obvious case that you may have forgotten. Remember the young lady, Sabrina Shern, who lost her life on prison property, on government property, at the hands of an inmate at their farm? He killed that poor girl, broad daylight, under the supervision of officers. Now, y'all might not remember certain things that have happened with prisoners. Remember the prisoner who got out during the day on some work release program and went and killed somebody? You may need to be reminded. So poor young Sabrina lost her life. That officer was made to resign as well. Yes. And guess where he went to work? Just take a wild guess. As a matter of fact, we got some gift certificates we need to be giving away around here. Burger King and Popeyes got you hooked up. $10 gift certificates. If you can answer the question, and you would know this if you've been paying attention to CMR for a minute, but maybe you haven't been paying attention. I don't know. But if you can answer the question of where did he go after leaving the prison to work, you can get yourself, look at this, beautiful gift certificates. Burger King and Popeyes. Yes, honey child. That's at least a lunch, or if you want to do breakfast, they got little breakfast sandwiches and stuff. Does Popeyes do breakfast? I don't feel like I know that they do breakfast. But I know Burger King definitely does breakfast. You got egg croissant sandwiches and probably some nice pancakes and all sorts of stuff. Yes, Miss Shan, good morning. What a hot mess. Where is my holy water, says Aliano. Chai, bring it on. Ballandchain.com. Woo, that's a good one. Curtis says maybe the prisoners should set up a OnlyFans account. Lord, now y'all just going all overboard with that idea. Next thing you know, it'll be there. Miranda is wondering if the head of the prison needs to resign. Shan, Miss Judy, Thirst, good morning. Charlotte, how are you? Shannon says, yes, Sandy, can you believe that after 18 years of service, the bank let me go just this Monday? What? Knowing I have a lung disease and let me go with only 3 months of health insurance. Oh my God. Is that bank in Butterfield? Which bank are we talking about, child? They're probably trying to find that $4.8 million. They didn't even thank me for my years of service in person or in my letter. Oh my God, you're kidding. And said that they couldn't find anywhere else to place me in the bank with my skills, as if I had no skills to offer after 18 years. My heart is broken for how I was treated. Wow. Oh my gosh. Let's talk about that in a minute. So, Adriana says airport. Nope. Police. Good guess, but nope. Ms. Valda, boys home. You're getting closer. HSA, RCIPS. No. Musa says the tendency to cover up keeps perpetrating unacceptable behavior. This must be stopped. Sandy, thank you for keeping us informed. Immigration. That's a good guess. Good morning, Minister Kenneth Bryan. How are you? Minister Bryan is one of 306 people listening to us right now. Daniela says, I witnessed the most disgusting exchange between a manager and staff at Customs. Ooh, stick a pin, because we are coming to Customs. Customs will not be left out this morning. Daniela, hold that thought. We are coming to Customs, child, because they're doing some hot mess around the place too. Cecil, yes, it's government, but you need to tell me where in government. Shannon, why am I not surprised that it's Butterfield? We're going to talk about that hot mess in a second too. The girls' home. Yes, Sharon. Sharon Ebanks, you are a winner. Message me on, somebody said, finally, somebody got the answer. Message me on 324-1612 to let me know which certificate you'd like. Burger King or Popeyes. Boy, those Popeyes fries really be good, girl. Oh, that might be a tough choice. Treat yourself to some lunch. All right. Yes, he went to the girls' home. Now, think on that for a minute. As Aliano said, get your holy water, because this don't make no sense. You allow, under your watchful eye, on government property, an inmate to viciously murder a young lady. Like I said, it was daytime. It wasn't even like under the cover of night or darkness where you might not have seen something. I don't know where he was, but it happened in his watch. He was on duty. This young lady gets murdered. And it was the same sort of thing, right? Wasn't there allegations of a drug ring coming into the prison? Y'all remember the story? It's horrible. And they allowed him to resign. And then he ends up at the girls' home, watching over our teen girls. What parallel universe does not make any sense? I feel like I'm in one of those those Marvel shows or whatever, where there's like multiverses happening. This is a multiverse that is just tipsy-turvy and all upside down and don't make no sense. There has to be an illogical multiverse of the Cayman Islands somewhere, because this is just crazy. Yes, honey child. Y'all remember the story. Go back and look at the website where we did the whole expose on the children's home. Bonaventure. Not Bonaventure is the one for the boys. This one is oh gosh, what do we call it now? Kay's Foundation. Y'all remember this story? Oh no. They were supposed to be carrying out an investigation, and we can't hear nothing about the investigation. That was back in 2009. Same thing, November of 2009. Kay's Foundation under investigation as whistleblower placed on leave. No update. Let me put the link here for y'all to go back and read this one. Absolutely no update on what has happened. Now, the poor guy who was the director, he had left after the drowning of little Rascal. And no one has been held accountable for that situation. No one. The family, to the best of my understanding, is having to sue government, because government, like I just told y'all, government is not going to settle with you. They're going to force you to lawyer up. And force you to sue them, because they know most people don't have the money to sue. Most people don't have the resources or even the inclination. But his poor family trying to sue to at least get something out of his death. I don't know what's going to become of it. But yes, y'all, that guy got a job overseeing high-risk youth. I mean, if the guy was a Caymanian, right, I could maybe understand, like, okay, you're trying to keep Caymanians employed, giving them a second chance. These people are not even Caymanians. Is that the best part? There's absolutely no reason why we would be or should be extending any special courtesy to them. Now, y'all know how I feel about this. You treat people, all people, with dignity and respect. But there are times when you make a certain consideration, especially when it comes to employment, but you don't do it for someone who doesn't have a right to live in your country. Like, in other words, they don't have anywhere else to go. That kind of doesn't even make any sense. But that's exactly what has been happening in this country. Anyway, child, y'all know the situation there at the boys, at the girls' home. All sorts of questions or commentary on, what staff have been doing there. Lots of nepotism and people sleeping with each other and carrying on in the closets and the rooms on premise. The children hearing all this stuff going on. These same people, same workers, saying inappropriate things to young girls. And everybody's just turning a blind eye because apparently that's what we do. Okay, we got photos. Listen, we had photos of a young girl and her boyfriend. She's in the girl's home. Y'all need to go back to this article. And she's coming out of a vehicle of an employee at the home. Listen, anywhere else in the world, this sort of thing would be a major investigation. CMR is the only ones who carried the story, and all now we not hear nothing. Young girls contacting us about how they're suicidal. If they weren't suicidal when they went into the home, they're suicidal when they're coming out of the home. Now you imagine, right? We have at-risk children that we're putting in government's care, trying to give them a fighting chance. And instead, we are damaging them more. You guys tell me what kind of logic this makes. They're already high risk. We're damaging them more so that when they come out, they're worse for it. And those poor children will be glad to get out of the home. It's just very, very disturbing. They launched an investigation and all now, no update on the investigation, nothing. All these investigations should be a matter of public record. The second you launch an investigation, we need to know the results of the investigation. Why aren't we hearing that? No word on what's going on. And then the staff think that they're so slick that when they hear, oh, the ministry is coming, I don't know why the ministry be telling them in advance. Y'all just need to do a pop-up. Y'all ever heard of something called a secret shopper, where you send someone in undercover? Maybe y'all need to take a young lady who isn't damaged, who's not in a high-risk situation, but put her into one of those homes to carry out an undercover investigation for y'all with a body cam and see what's really going on up in that home. You'd probably shut the whole place down. Ordering lobster dinners from restaurants that are trying to, treat the young children. The director is ordering him a lobster dinner and steak dinner and da-da-da-da-da. To the point where the restaurants are like, we're not here to feed you, sir. We're offering the service for the children, but you're taking advantage of it. Liquor on the premise. Your staff bring in liquor on the premise and nothing happens to them? All right, well, my apologies. I'm really going off on the Case Foundation when this wasn't really supposed to be about them, but this is systemic. The issues are systemic and they cross over into multiple agencies and department. So, Ms. Sharon, message me, please. The Francis Bodden Children's Home, I think, is what it's been renamed, because it's not just girls. I think they might have some younger kids there too. I don't even know. Shan said, I bet he went and worked for a law firm. Not this one. But yes, with at-risk girls. After you had another one of our commanding girls killed on your watch. It almost sounds too crazy to be true. But that's exactly where he is. He works there. The wife works there. All kind of friendships and relationships. Tracy says, how could that have happened? Well, Tracy, I'm going to tell you how. Because when you have people covering up the truth, and there's not a degree of honesty with what is actually happening in these departments and these agencies, this is precisely what is going to happen. There's going to be all kind of cover up going on. Nobody's calling it out. It's like with the ombudsman's office. They had poor Sharon Ralston. I always got to think closely because Sharon and Shirley, I always get the S's mixed up. Sharon, yes. On secondment. She went and did her secondment at immigration. She comes back. They don't have no job for her. The woman just in limbo. It's only after we mentioned it on this program that 2 weeks later, she could be placed back in her job. And I'm telling y'all, just like I told the young lady who's head of the legal aid department, she needs to watch her back with her new legal counsel. Poor old Sharon needs to watch her back over the ombudsman's office because they don't really want her there. And they will do everything in her power and their power to get rid of her. So, when you're going into the lion's den, you need to be well advised. James watching us from Scotland. Hello, James. How are you, my love? Shan says the audacity. I've lost understanding of Grand Cayman. Well, child, I'm trying to make it make sense, but I'm telling you, we have to pray on these things because it doesn't always make sense. It is crazy. Y'all keep hearing me saying, good Lord, please take the bus. He has soon take more than the bus. The guard with the drugs and the guy from immigration and sexual abuse charges of the young girl. Immigration. Which one was that again? Child, there's been so many. There's the guy who was at not immigration. That one was airport with the young girl. I think that's proceeding criminally. There's a lot of hot messes going on all over the place. Somebody just mentioned about customs again. Oh Lord, we need a whole show for customs. And we're going to be dropping a story about customs today that you guys are going to be shaking your head at. What is wrong with these people? I do not know. So let's get back to prison. Let's wrap up prison. So I get why the powers that be are concerned to protect the prison's reputation and by extension, the leadership, because it makes the leader of the prison look bad. Now listen, Mr. Stephen Barrett, bless his little heart. I'm sure he's doing the best that he can. But he may just be out of his league. Why do I think he may be out of his league? Well, has he ever been a head of a prison service before coming to the Cayman Islands? He's director of prisons here. Well, it says that he was, when we look at his LinkedIn account, that he was head of training operations at a Scottish prison for 2 years. And looks like he did that. He was operation advisor to the HR director for a couple of years back in 2005 to 2007. So he comes from TCI, where it says that he was superintendent of prisons. So he says here that he was head of that for 5 years. Superintendent of prisons. Anyway, he's been the director since October of 2018 at Her Majesty's Palace. Oh, I mean, Her Majesty's Prison Service. My apologies. Dating service and everything intertwined. But there seems to be a lot of things that, despite his best efforts, that he just doesn't have a grasp on, including his own management team. The idea, however, in case he missed the memo, Cayman is very, very small, right? If a female prisoner is involved in dating an inmate, bringing drugs into the prison, the drug ring at the prison isn't just the one guy you have arrested. Let's be quite frank and honest here. If we really want to get to the crux of this, y'all need to keep digging, because there are much bigger fish to fry. And you need to find the fish and start filleting them and putting them on the grill. Smoothing these things over to make it look like everything is running well makes no sense whatsoever. It really doesn't. And all it does is it encourages people talking, and people will talk. Your prisoners talk. You know, it was the prisoners who first could tell people about the relationships that the other inmates are having with prison staff, because the prisoners know what's going on, Don't take them for no fool. They are well versed in exactly what is happening at the prison. So they knew when so-and-so was sleeping with so-and-so. And they talk. And if you have prison employees that are astute, they will also be listening to what the prisoners are saying. It's called intelligence. This is how you pick up on a lot of what's happening in prison. Because the inmates are just like people in the regular population. They love to chat. And they can talk sometimes their business and other people's business too. So of course they're talking about, who's moving the drugs and what's going on and who's sleeping with who in prison and all sorts of stuff. It doesn't make sense to try to cover these things up and hide it. Information has a way of leaking out, and trust me, it's like the bucket with so many holes in it, you don't even know which one to plug first. But the idea of you trying to plug information, stop the flow of information, will have the entire community questioning your ability to run an effective prison, because we know what's going on. So when we send you a question, let me tell you how this works in the vast majority of the cases, right? When we send a question to the prison, it's not because we don't know the answer. In 97% of the instances of us sending an email to any government agency, not just a prison, we already know the answer. We're sending it for official confirmation, official commentary, and to see how you will respond. And when you say, oh, no, nothing's going on at all, and we double back and say, okay, so no one's been arrested. All right. You haven't reported it to the police. That's why no one's been arrested. Is there an investigation? Are you looking into things? And you come back and say, nope, nothing's going on. Everything's great. I know better. And I have evidence to the contrary. We don't put everything out there because we don't compromise our sources. So I'm not going to always show you the evidence, but believe me, we know better. Mm-hmm. Mm-mm. Ay, ay, ay. What a hot mess. Let me see here now. So my advice, if I had to give it to the prison, is get yourself some drug dogs, because this ain't over yet. There's a lot going on at the prison. Start telling the cold hard truth. No one's going to fault you for cleaning up the prison, because we know it's a hot mess. But when you try to cover up, that's when you're going to have, I think, people really questioning like what is going on. Good morning, Mr. Gary. What about the Coast Guard guys who were illegally kicked out and nobody can say anything about it? Let me say this, right? I've been hearing some stuff about the Coast Guard. Somebody actually called me last weekend about them. And this is what y'all need to do. Because when I come to the people with the facts, I have to make sure that I got my facts straight. Because if I don't have my facts straight, the first thing, oh yeah, Sandra don't know what she's talking about. Yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. So we need to ensure that the primary source or people who have the information from the primary source are the ones who come forward and provide such information. We can't just go on a storyline of, oh, well, you know. This is what's happening. We need the cold hard facts. Mhm. Mhm. All right, let's talk about customs. Mhm. Customs is another hot mess. Oh, honey child, Lord Jehovah. Mm-mm-mm. Miss Morna says drugs been going on for years at the prison, long time. Why things is coming to light is because of technology nowadays. Other than that, it's still going on. Miss Melanie says, Sandy, this is the same reason I don't have my son here today, because they refused to make me take him to England, and they refused to let him come now. He was murdered and they blamed me. Wow. I'm so sorry to hear that. The power of the people is greater than the people in power. You better believe that, Miranda. Does government need to pay for work permits of their foreign workers? No, government doesn't pay work permits. So let me be very clear about how it works in the civil service, in case you guys don't know. The civil service does not, they don't need to take out work permits. So government wouldn't be paying themselves, in other words, right? So what they do is they put people on contract. So all of the foreign workers that you see in the civil service are here on some sort of a contract. And there's no work permit required. So they don't have to go through that process. I mean, they are supposed to still interview them. Thank you, Sharon. I'll have a look after the show. They are supposed to still interview them and give Caymanians, qualified Caymanians, the first preference at the job. But we've seen where that doesn't always happen, right? So yeah, they're placed on a contract. Susan joining us from Alabama. How are you? Stacey Ann from Jamaica. Beautiful. We love our international viewers. Jasara says, what happened to the days when only women were working there? The kids are going to church on Sunday, summer camp during the summer. If they never had anyone to go home to, etc. Trips to Cayman Brac, boat trips to Little Cayman, painting classes on Thursday. They need to do some investigations back, because back in 2008, they never, and it got cut off. Oh, yes, the lady was from immigration. Yes, thank you, Miss Valda. I guess that's still being investigated, child. Like I said, these investigations go on forever and you never hear anything about an actual outcome. Yes. Child, that's a criminal case though. That's he's on leave. Child, we still waiting on the details on that one, because that one sounds really sketchy. I don't know what to say. Sounds like they forced the woman into a threesome situation against her will. And if that's the case, you know, that is against the law. You can't force anybody to have sex with you. Ms. Valda, we can certainly ask. for an update on that, but we've not heard anything. Not a single word. Oh, one other thing with prison. Let me not forget while we're on the topic of prison. So some months ago, there's this story about a senior prison officer who's now a training officer, I guess. I think he trains, like he's part of the team that trains them, the new recruits, right? He has a relationship with a new recruit and gets her pregnant. I can't even. I was like, what? Ironically enough, English officer, he's been there a very long time. When the person started telling me the story, I'm like, is this so-and-so? Because he wanted them that hot to trot too. I'm surprised he not up in the women's prison trying to have a relationship with the prisoners. But yeah, he's a little hot to trot. He always has been. Y'all know the type. Living up in the gym, honey child, trying to pump weights and look young forever. Although you're like in your 60s now, you must remember your place. Anyway, they're not business with that. So just like it's inappropriate for you to have a relationship with a prisoner if you work in the prison system, you shouldn't be having any sort of fraternization or relationship with other prisoners, other prison officers, especially your subordinates. If the person's like you're in management and they're in management, I suppose you could argue that there's no possibility of an unequal situation, but even then, it just looks messy. And there is certainly the potential for it to appear to be nepotism and all sorts of sexism, and God knows what else, right? Somebody's going to want to claim sexual harassment and all this sort of thing. So what is this saying about you don't eat where you do other things? This would be good advice. You don't have relations where you work. So anyhow, this particular officer manages to get into a relationship with a young trainee. Yes, I wanted to say that, but a 16-year-old told me, Miss Sandra, I watches your show. I said, okay, that means I better watch the words I'm using on the show. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And so he manages to get this young lady pregnant. I mean, she's not even in the force good yet. You don't even let her get in the force and start working before you go and have sex with her and knock her up. Married to Caymanian. Poor fool. So he could stay here. And then he's doing this sort of thing. Then he's insisting that she gets an abortion. In case you missed that memo, officer, that's against the law in the Cayman Islands. Anyway, she refused to do so. And I hear she's big now, boy, baby on the way. Messy, messy on top of messy. So she's working at the female prison. I hope to God that he now does the right thing by way of this child, married or not married. You're now bringing a child into the world. I don't want to see you up in court with her on Fridays talking about child maintenance. Get your affairs in order. And as a matter of fact, I don't think this guy has any children now that I'm thinking about it. Let me try and recall. I don't think he has any, so this might be a blessing for him, poor little fool. So messy. Jasara says they're taking advantage because nobody's being held accountable for their actions in regards to any of the corruption that has been going on. Make an example of one and watch how the rest will fall back. Well, I believe it. Ms. Vernita says, speak it, mama. Oh, speak it, Morna. I just hope her people would get up and stamp out all of this sooner than later. Well, we can stamp it out one at a time here. Miss Darlene says that tells us why our decent young Caymanians are not keen to join the prison. I mean, it really doesn't look all that enticing. And then you have rumors of previous HR managers who really had a liking for a lot of the Jamaican officers that are now in the prison system. And so she was in relationships with some of them too. That prison got some real mix-up relationship business going on, you know. Trust me. So she was alleged to have been in relationships with some of them, and that's why they got the positions that they got. And all sorts of mixed up stuff. I mean, it's just unbelievable what goes on there. Purple Rain wants to know, why do they keep rewarding bad behavior? If they mess up on one job, then pack up their grip and see ya. Yes. Bad behavior should never be rewarded. Good morning, Sabrina. She says, whoa. Child. Customs, not to be outdone, as though it's some sort of competition for which is the worst possible department in government. Customs is also a hot mess. Hear what this person has to say about customs. They said, finally. They've been waiting on the conversation on customs. Lord. Why does government give people like that money? He probably has a certain piece of jewelry. I don't know which person that was referring to, but a certain piece of jewelry. Are we talking about this? What's this organization that these guys are all in where they're looking out for each other? Lodge members? I don't know. Listen, I am not, I understand the concept of lodge. I think what happens with lodge is, yes, it's probably a fraternity, and like most networking fraternities, they take care of their own. And taking care of your own should not extend to when they do wrong. So here's this person's comment. They said, customs is a big mess. They put that in capital letters and extended, big mess. Certain high-ranking officers with a certain piece of jewelry are hiring, promoting, and protecting officers, especially ex-police officers. Oh, Lord Jehovah. And making good on promises made to them of promotions and special perks for their loyalty. Female officers having sex with the same high-ranking officer, so certain privileges. And this I have heard time and time and time and time again. When it comes time for promotion, the high-ranking officer provides his minions with the notes and answers to the exams. It's a disgrace. Oh my God. The CG is another disaster. Oh, the Coast Guard. Wow. Where do we begin with customs? Child, they got a couple lawsuits pending with staff over there as well. I have heard over the years, over the last few years, what that person just said. So many stories about this nepotism in customs. This one having sex with this one. Foreigners who are not supposed to normally be working in, like, you know, there was a time when a foreigner couldn't work for immigration, fire service. They should have extended it to police, but we see where that's gone. And customs. Now there are exceptions being made if you're sleeping with the right kind of people. These allegations are rampant of certain people in management positions at customs having sex with their subordinates. And I'm telling you, I've heard it for years, and I have the names of these women and all the details. Now, am I in between the sheets with these people? Obviously not. So we will put this in the category of speculation, not confirmation. However, the number of different people from all over this island who know the story, it can be, you know what old people used to say? Aunt Lottie's pearls of wisdom. What she used to say, where there's smoke, there is fire. Because you know what causes the smoke? That burning bush. So I have no reason not to believe. Oh, this mosquito. This mosquito has survived in this office. I soon zap him, Y'all give me till today. I can get out my zapper and I can fix him. I can put it right in that corner over there and he'll get zapped. The stories are rampant. Everybody know who she is. Or they are, because there's more than one now too. And everybody know who's sleeping with who. And they go in there. The women go in there with such attitudes. They can do whatever they want because they know they're protected. The rest of your staff not gonna respect you. Let me just say this. Somebody just mentioned about how to be going to court, going to church pretending to be Christians. John, please. That's why when they jump up talking about gay people, I said, y'all should sit down and shut up. Seriously. Y'all don't need to have nothing to say about consenting adults doing their thing, because what y'all be doing, the fornicating and the adulterous behavior and keeping your companions down at work because you fornicating with this one and that one and blah, blah, blah. It's ridiculous. And it's happening. And, the vast majority of the civil service could be doing a great job, but it's people like this and departments like this and situations like this that really raise an eyebrow and makes everybody look bad. Now, we're going to be reporting on customs later on today because they're going to change up the system now, confusing everybody. So that story will be dropped right after the show. But yes, customs has a lot of nepotism and sexual favors going on up in there. And certain people have become untouchable because of their relationships with people in management, and it needs to stop. Now, y'all can't tell me that the head of the civil service, with all due respect, Senior France Manderson, that if I have heard the stories, you can't tell me that you've not heard the stories. And you can't pick up a phone call to people in customs and say, listen, no. Everybody talking your business. It's all over the streets. And when Ma Road get a hold of it, heaven forbid we start getting some of them pictures. What y'all gonna do then? Right now, somebody's sending me all the names. I know them already. I know. Not nothing new. But it needs to stop. How help me understand how you can be in a position of power in these departments. Anne says these departments need to be disinfected. Thank you for exposing this. This is what I don't get. How can you be in relationship with people in your department and not know that other people don't know? And it's like a unhidden secret. It's almost as bad as Kylie Jenner's pregnancy. That was like the worst kept secret in the history of the universe. She was trying to hide her pregnancy. Remember when she was pregnant, but everybody knew she was pregnant. So are you guys even trying to pretend that you're not in a relationship with these people? Because it is so widely known. Y'all hear the phone blowing up. Everybody's like ping, ping, ping. And the worst part is the bad behavior continues to be rewarded. It's problematic because it makes your agencies look horrible because everybody talking it. Well, how can this expat go get a job up in customs? This person's assistant, and that person's assistant, and blah, blah, blah. Oh, I wonder if it has anything to do with the fact that she is in bed with this person under the sheets. And only God knows what kind of pillow talk going on there about work. It's a hot mess. This other person says, morning, Sandra. So I'm wondering. Oh, that was yesterday's comments. My apologies. Let me read the correct ones for today. Sandra, government entities are notorious for not hiring Caymanians. They will interview Caymanians to say that they met their quota check the necessary boxes and hire someone from outside. Here's another one that says at the time of Sabrina's death, a friend of mine, a prison officer, was accused of bringing drugs in the prison, and he was transferred to the boys' home. You see what I'm telling you? What a mess. Ay, ay, ay. Wow. Well, it's a hot mess, and y'all need to get it together. Before you all force people to provide photos of your lewd behavior, please stop it. Go and date someone else outside of your own department. I mean, I can't believe that there's not a clear message across the civil service that you should not be dating anyone who's a subordinate to you in your various departments. I don't think you should be dating. Listen, the dating pool can't be that small in Cayman. Don't date a coworker anyway, subordinate or not. Okay? Get it together. It's so incredibly unprofessional. I see that mosquito boy. Look at him. Look at him right there. I soon catch him. Don't worry. I soon get him. Aliana says most of these civil servant jobs breed too much backdoor opportunities. There's no regulation. Certain benefits are exploited. Limit the silver spoon and royalty treatment. You're there to perform a task, not a sweetheart deal. Louis says, what about the code of conduct? Not just for MPs, but all government agencies. Well, doesn't the civil service have a code of conduct? But that does not seem to include this fraternizing. See what Darlene said? This is all stale news. I'm telling y'all, that's been happening a long time. Good morning, Roderick. Government is the most corrupt entity in the Cayman Islands. What a crying shame. PAC, please try to fix it, says Miranda. Well, there are definitely pockets of corruption going on. And like I said, even if it's 5%, 2%, whatever, it does make everyone look really, really bad. And so y'all should do your best to clean this mess up. I'm not even getting into the fact that they're married men. That's a whole other thing. You know, their wives, I guess, might care about that part of the story. But having a relationship, now that should be classified as insubordination, although technically that's not what the definition of insubordination is. But my point being, it really needs to be fixed. And I get for far too long, Caymanians have engaged in this. Sleep with this person. And when I say Caymanians, I should just say people in the Cayman Islands. It's not something that's just Caymanians. Sleep with this individual to get a promotion. Oh, the stories of what was going on in immigration back in the day. Boy, you can hear some sus. Whew. That's too hot for morning time show, child. That would have to be after 10 p.m. for us to talk about those things. Let's just say that some people have legendary stories about what they prefer in terms of sexual favors. And then certain people get heads of department jobs and they get promoted because they've been servicing the right people in the right positions for a lot of time. And what I would say to the women in particular, getting a job or a promotion lying on your back or on all fours is never something to be proud of, because this is a small community where everybody's always going to, even if there's some argument for the merits of you getting the position, people always say, they're always going to link you to the other side of the story. Oh, child, please. She been sleeping with him for donkey years. That's how she got promoted to this position, that position. So they'll never look at the merits of how you got it otherwise, because that will overshadow anything else. So you walk around with a feather in your cap talking about you head of a department, and everybody looking at you like, oh, but how did you get that head of department position? Sharon says that the Pat government has inherited this mess. No doubt that Pat government has inherited a lot. And I suppose at the end of the day, it's going to take them some time to try to fix it. But I think a clear message needs to be sent that this type of behavior is unacceptable. Mind you, now they're going around, they're meeting all the department heads and whatever. And these guys know, the PAC members, vast majority of them, well, we've had the most women in, but vast majority of them are men. They know the score. They know what's going on, long time. And so they need to say, let's step up the professionalism. As someone said, yes, we're expecting the MPs, the ministers to be more professional. We're holding them to a certain standard, because I don't want to hear no foolishness with them either. Some of them have interesting personal lives. But, the sort of thing that I think is going on there, like one of them said, oh, well, he hasn't really been together with his wife, but she just shows up to look good, ceremonial stuff. But yeah, he has a girlfriend. Okay. I understand the concept that you can be separated from a spouse and not be formally divorced and be dating other people. But there shouldn't be any blurring of the lines. If you're separated, you're separated. And everybody should understand that you're separated. You don't go around talking about your wife and jumping up in church talking about your wife, but then you got a girlfriend and the two of you have an understanding. People look at that just like, what is this? But I know a lot of you all wives, we've seen it before with previous leaders in this country. You want this title of being a first lady, and you allow the husband to go out there and do whatever he wants, and you just turn a blind eye to it. On a personal note, that's actually your business. You have a right to turn a blind eye. But the point that I'm making is the community is still looking at you going, what on earth is going on here? So sometimes it's just better if you say, listen, here's a real score. We're swingers. Okay. Do your thing, honey child. Or we're not together. We might share a household because I can't afford to buy him out and he's not going to pay me what I want or whatever. So for finances, you're going to stay in the same household. But you still make it very clear. We're not in a personal relationship like that. We are separated. That happens. This is the real world, the world of economics, where you can't afford to be on your own. So you're still sharing the house, and maybe you've got kids and you're waiting till the kids get to a certain point before you start filing the divorce papers so that nobody has to worry about child support payments, that sort of thing. These things happen. But Sabrina says immigration seem clean up these days. Well, I'll tell you what, it seems like other people are overshadowing anything that might potentially be going on at immigration, but I'm not hearing too much about the fraternizing over immigration anymore. Cameron says, let's just admit it. We have no behavior and love badness and mix up. Sue had a laugh. Morning, Juanita. It's either we love being on it or on the outside looking in, there is a certain amount of truth to that, Cameron. That's why CMR is here, because y'all love the sus. Speaking of which, I noticed our numbers went up to 360 something people this morning, right? On Saturday morning, there was the forum with Big Brothers Big Sisters, the youth forum. How many people have watched that? Let me just go back and have a look. Maybe a couple thousand people. Now, you know, y'all, I was very disappointed to see a low 25 people watching that. Because I'm like, here's an important issue. The mental health and well-being of your children during a pandemic, et cetera, et cetera. And you all are just not even engaged, really. 25 people watching on a Saturday morning. What else you got to do on a Saturday morning? I'm just wondering. Nothing. And I was thinking to myself, now y'all know that number should have been 500 people. Because if I was here talking about some sus and some mix up and blah, 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 y'all would have been tuned into that. This is where Big Brothers Big Sisters. Oh, okay. So it has 3.1 thousand views. We had to do it and we were having a little technical issues. So another one has 3.7. Still, if this was mix up story and gossip, y'all would all been in on it. But when it comes to our young people, knowing how to handle our young people and deal with our young people and getting good professional expert advice, y'all are checked out. That's part of the problem right there. That is part of the problem. Checked out, not engaged, don't want nothing to do with the conversation. Ms. Darlene says the whole cheating is a culture in Cayman, from the MPs right down to the common man. And I must admit that seems to be the case. All right, let's check in with our Caribbean Connection folks. Let me see if they are Wow. What a mess. Ay, ay, ay. If this mosquito don't leave me alone, you see? One lonesome mosquito. And you know the fact that he's always out during the daytime, that means that he's one of those disease-carrying mosquitoes that carries the he's the Aedes aegypti mosquito, because they love to be out in daytime, child. Let me see if Mr. Famous is ready to join us. Oh, nice. Very good. So let's recap some Caribbean news, and then if he jumps in, then he jumps in. So headlines out of the Virgin Islands, BVI, from the Olympics. McMaster is the fourth and fastest ever 400-meter hurdle race. So good for them. Of course, the Olympics is ongoing. So this is Virgin Islands track superstar Kieran A. McMaster clocked a personal best effort and national record to place fourth in the highly anticipated finals at the Olympics Games in Tokyo on August the 2nd. And good for him. He just was edged out of the bronze medal position by Brazilian Alison dos Santos. Very close. 46.72 versus 47.08. His previous first best was 47.5. So congratulations to him. So the race saw the world record being broken by Karsten Warholm of Norway. Wow, really? And American Rai Benjamin came in second, the second fastest time in history. So all sorts of records being broken there. Some congratulations to BVI. Oh, Lord have mercy. Hear this one about go-go dancers. So this one says a politician ran the police canteen for years. He would host after parties with go-go dancers from Jamaica Police and Immigration, where they were sticking $100 bills inside the women's breasts, couching or coughing because they were fully nude. What? Couching slit? I'm missing something there. Police kept it from being ransacked and only shut down the location when new government building was built. This person, they allege, is a pimp. Well, okay. Barbados and Guyana considering mandatory vaccination. So this is more news again as of the 2nd. So both Barbados and Guyana are looking at mandating. COVID vaccination. So that will be the way that this is going to go, folks. Someone else just sent me the letter from A.L. Thompson's, which I think we discussed on the day before yesterday, on Monday. Yes. It's going to be mandated, but like I told people, you always have a choice. You can say no and just find a new job. That's kind of how it works, really. We've got minister outlines overhaul of immigration policy for long-term residents. So this is in which island is this? The Royal Gazette. Is this BVI or Bermuda? Bermuda. So their government, long-term residents will be able to apply for permanent residence in Bermuda. So they're looking at a complete overhaul of their immigration regulations. This is the Minister of Labor, Jason Hayward, made the announcement yesterday at a press conference. So the changes affect a slew of resident non-Bermudians, including people who arrived in Bermuda at an early age and are normally resident in Bermuda. Non-Bermudians who have continuously contributed to the community, a divorced or unwed parent of a Bermudian child, and that children of first and second generation PR certificate holders who've been ordinarily resident in Bermuda. So according to this, the new legislation will give long-term residents who had contributed to the island some level of security to enable them to remain. So there are many individuals who were born in Bermuda or been in Bermuda for from an early age, and they call Bermuda home, and they have no way of normalizing their residency. So it looks like they're going in the direction that we've already gone, Joe. So that's interesting. Okay. Do your thing, Bermuda. What else we got going on here? CDC warns against travel to the U.S. Virgin Islands unless fully vaccinated. Activating very high danger alert as cases surge in the territory. Wow. Hot mess. Anguilla passes conversational tax. What is this? Oh, controversial tax. So what is this tax for? Anguilla House of Assembly, split vote. So they are going to be taxing General Services Tax, GST, has been passed. The umbrella GST, which replaces several individual import and consumption taxes, went through a lengthy period of public consultation, but continues to divide opinion in Anguilla. 13% for businesses with a turnover of $300,000 or more. Wow. What a hot mess. Well, there's that. That's what's going on in the region. Jonathan says women cheat just as much as men. Well, Jonathan, most men are cheating with women, you know. I'm just saying. They're not cheating by themselves. And most of them are not cheating with other men, despite what you think. Some maybe, but most are not. So, Rachel, yeah, let's talk about the situation with Shannon. Oh, Bank of Butterfield. What is going on with the Bank of Butterfield? So let me break it down. We actually have the legal documents that are filed by the U.S. Department of Justice. Let me see if I can pull them up. Boy, they don't play around with you, know. Jeez, on peace. No, sir. So other news says that they've agreed to pay $5.6 million. I don't know if they've converted the currency, but it's 4.8 million US dollars. And you know, this will definitely be impacting people here. So this is making the news all over. It's Yahoo Financial News now. Of course, CMR had it up last night. So Butterfield Bank is a full-service bank and wealth manager headquartered in Hamilton, Bermuda. Provides services to clients from Bermuda, the Cayman Islands, Guernsey, and Jersey. Principal banking operations are located there. And the Bahamas, Switzerland, Singapore, the United Kingdom. So they have a whole slew of things. So in Bermuda, the Cayman Islands, and Guernsey, they offer banking and wealth management. In the Bahamas, Singapore, and Switzerland, they have select wealth management services. And in the UK, they have residential property lending. In Jersey, they have banking and wealth management services, and they are traded publicly on the New York Stock Exchange and the Bermuda Stock Exchange. So what we know is the U.S. Department of Justice has alleged bad behavior, criminal behavior is what they say, on the part of the Bank of Butterfield. And so now they are agreeing with the U.S. Department of Justice, and they have signed on for what's called a non-prosecution agreement, an NPA, with a 3-year term. The financial payments totaling $5.6 million in respect to forfeiture and tax restitution amounts are in line with existing provisions included in their financial statements recorded for 2015 and 2016. Their chairman and CEO has said that we're pleased to resolve this matter, which dates back to 2013. Since that time, we have enhanced our compliance controls for businesses, for business with U.S. clients, and the total payment has been provisioned. Moving forward, we remain focused on delivering for our clients and our stakeholders. Where are they getting the 5.6 million from? In the actual document, we saw 4.8. I'm gonna look at the source document again, because I see a couple people here actually saying 5.6 million. All right, we'll double check that. But anyway, the bottom line is it's in the millions of dollars. Okay, so the announcement. So here we go. Let's look at the screen here. So the announcement says, let me increase the size here. So the announcement says 5.6, but the actual document itself said 4.8. So that's kind of, I think, where the confusion is coming in. But I'll double check if the 4.8 was in relation to both forfeiture and restitution. And they're going to be handing over client files as well. So here we go. The NPA requires Butterfield to forfeit 4.8 million to the United States, representing certain fees that it earned, and to pay 704,000 in restitution to the IRS. So I guess the balance of that is the additional restitution amount. So I'm going to clarify that in our story as well, because I think that is a little confusing. So this is the story here. They've come to this agreement with the Bank of Butterfield. Listen, rich people get to settle things a little bit differently than the rest of us. Anybody else accused of bank and wire fraud, helping people evade taxes, et cetera, you wouldn't be getting a non-prosecution, you wouldn't be getting no non-prosecution agreement, child. You'd be getting jail time. Cold, hard jail time. We wouldn't be able to come and visit you. You wouldn't be able to watch CMR in jail, probably. I don't know. So that's another hot mess. So I'm very sorry, Shannon, to hear that Butterfield has made you redundant after 18 years. I can't help but wonder if they couldn't have come up with some other solution. You know, something seems amiss. It's very, very unfortunate. I've personally never been a fan of Butterfield Bank. Shall. Maybe CNB might have something for you, girl. CNB is a good bank. They're going to treat you right. And then, as Shannon said, after 18 years of service, which I mean, you know, I get how they're probably looking at it. They're like, listen, woman, we paid you for your service, so you're nobody special. That's what that's how they see it. But you think to yourself, after you've given a company 18 years of your life, at least the way that they let you go, the way that they do it, should be like done in a professional way. Like, thank you for your service. Here's a little parting gift after 18 years. Here's a little gift certificate. Let's have a go away party. Something. I mean, don't people not do those things anymore? There's no long service like appreciation for you being there for all of those years. Someone just says Butterfield is a racist bank. Well, I don't know if they're racist or not, but I mean, I know that they do. What? Whoa. Just got another bomb dropped in the show, but I can't tell y'all that one. I need to confirm that one first. Lord have mercy. Somebody arrested. Ay, ay, ay. Wow. Jeez and peace. Time for me to go do some investigating, y'all. See if that one's straight. So we can put that one up there. So Mariana says Bank of Butterfield is going to let Caymanians go and bring in cheap people and permit. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing over there, but Butterfield has always done very strange things, even with Caymanian like businesses and business owners, whatever. Like, it's so interesting that they were doing all this for their foreign clients, right? Basically not disclosing information to the US authorities, which meant that their foreign clients could then essentially lie to the IRS. And I'm thinking, how do you even do that? Because, you know, when you open up a bank account for years now, you have to do this disclosure. If you're a US citizen, a resident, you have to tell them all that stuff so that they know that they have a reporting obligation. So how this was allowed to happen, only God knows. Of course, they're claiming that, you know, oh, it's old news. It does say that MPA recognizes that in 2013, Butterfield implemented a series of remedial measures to stop assisting U.S. taxpayers from evading federal income taxes. But when did FACTA come into place? Because that's been around a minute now. So it says that it recognizes their cooperation, including efforts to facilitate the production of approximately 386 client files for non-compliance. So y'all U.S. taxpayers, you're in trouble. That's all I can tell you. Y'all in trouble. So basically, they're giving up the gross revenue from those services to the U.S. government, $4.896 million. Let me ask a question here that I think is a bit of a redundant question. Why has SEMA never gotten this kind of money from some of these banking institutions? You know what we could do at $4.896 million in the SEMA coffers going back to government? The U.S. always manages to get these for forfeiture amounts, these civil settlements for criminal matters. And poor Cayman, I don't see us getting nothing. We don't even get them put in jail, really. I can think about all the people that have stolen money from government, the Saids, the Dr. Saids of the world, and the government doesn't even get that money back. Speaking of which, are we going after the head of hospitality? I see you, Mosquito. I see you. Anything going to be done about him? What a mess. Sabrina, the tea is coming, girl. Keep it locked. Shannon says it's just the way that they did it. I just got put out of the hospital and I sat down and they asked me to bring my stuff. Wow. Horrible. Horrible. Wow. Well, I'm sorry, Shannon, and I do hope again, because we all know that Shannon has lung issues, but the good thing is I don't think by law that any insurance company going forward can exclude you from coverage, but I believe you have to get coverage within a year, right, of your current policy. What a mess. El Rey says because SEMA doesn't want to scare away those companies and potential new companies. Well, I don't see anybody being scared away from doing business in the U.S. I bet your Bank of Butterfield is going to shut down their New York office or wherever that office is. What a mess. Anyway, folks, that is our program for today. We've got a couple of things that we're definitely keeping an eye on. And the planning department says it's now conducting virtual inspections. I don't even know what that means. I'd love to see how that works. But they sent us the press release, and we will certainly put that through. And we'll see how that goes, honey chow. What a mess. All right. Good folks, keep it locked here to the Cold Hard Truth and CMR. We've got all your news for you. Couple crazy accidents yesterday. Did you guys see the one that had West Bay Road closed off right before 5 o'clock and into the traffic? First of all, the traffic was horrendous. I mean, West Bay got a taste of what the rest of us have to deal with coming east every day, except it was like twice as bad. But I am aware that, you know, some people sustained some injuries. I don't think there were any fatalities, but they did have the road closed for a minute. And it looks like that van rolled or flipped because the top was like all crushed in. So I don't know how that happened. It had started to rain shortly before that. So what I would say, folks, is, you know, most of your bad drivers without the rain, in perfect road conditions, much less when there's a little bit of rain on the road. So just slow down. Shannon says, my last work day was Friday, and instead of letting me go that day, as I sat down on Monday before I could log in, our manager walked over and said, can we have a talk? I said, sure. And he said, please bring your stuff. Wow. I felt like a criminal after my coworker saw me sit down. My coworker saw me get up and follow him. Aw, now that's just poor. Why would they have to do it that way? I mean, like you said, if you haven't done anything wrong, they're just making you redundant. You haven't stolen anything. You haven't, you know, hacked some computer system. They don't give people notice anymore or what? Like, we're going to have to let you go, you know, have a month or 2 or 3 to try and find something. It's a shame. We've talked about the Compass in relation to this because they don't seem to know how to get rid of people properly either. But clearly they're not the only company. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry to hear that. It's horrible. Shannon, something will come your way, my friend. Hang in there. Butterfield, shame on you. You all got to do better. Y'all really have got to do better. Anyway, folks, keep it locked. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 7:30 with Blake and Aaron and 106 KISS, kicking off the show. You guys have a wonderful day. Please be safe on the roadways.
Thank you for tuning in to another edition of The Cold Hard Truth. Make sure to check Facebook for showtimes and more information and the latest news at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Subscribe to our IG and Facebook pages to get the latest happenings.